Mayor Jim Watson will begin lobbying the provincial officials for 2 casinos in Ottawa. The move comes after council set in motion the request to have the city look at 2 gaming zones. Under the proposed plan, Rideau Carleton Raceway would keep its slot machines and a bidding process would proceed for a second license. A city committee will hold a public meeting on August 26th to hear from the public and a vote on a motion requesting 2 casinos in the capital. And Mayor Jim Watson joins us now live in studio to chat more about this. Good morning.
Good morning, Annette.
How is this any different from last time you went to the province and asked for 2 sites?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, it's a council resolution as opposed to simply just me. And secondly, we've had a public meeting, another public meeting. We heard loud and clear 2 things. Protect Rideau Carleton Raceway because that's important for the rural economy. And secondly, have a fair process for the rest of the city. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. And we're saying, look, you had 2 zones for Toronto. Woodbine was protected in essence in the Toronto area plus the rest of Toronto. Niagara has 2 zones for 2 casinos. Winnipeg has 2 casinos. Calgary has 3. It's not unheard of. So we think that the market can sustain it. Secondly, it allows us to protect an important asset that most members of council and the public agree. Let's keep Rideau Carleton and not lose it because it's important for the horse racing industry, it's important for the rural economy, right, and a lot of jobs.
Critics are being tough on how this has been handled at City Hall, this file, and some suggesting that this is just a bid to appease the would-be bidders like Eugene Melnyk.
No, I think, the challenge has been that all along we said, look, let's see if we can protect Rideau Carleton, whether it's going to be a satellite or a separate zone. The OLG originally said no to that, and then our fallback position was we can't risk losing the Rideau Carleton Raceway, so we wanted to protect that. But then we heard from the public, not just Mr. Melnyk, but other people that said, look, why not have a process that's open and fair for everyone to bid who qualifies and protect the Rideau Carleton Raceway at the same time. So I think it's a good solution. I commend my colleagues Mark Taylor and Tim Tierney who worked on this, people like Doug Thompson and Scott Moffat, Shad Caudry. They've all come together and we had a 24-0 vote to say this makes sense, let's ask the province. If the province says no, we resort back to our original position of Rideau Carleton.
Realistically though, what are the chances the province says yes?
Well, I think there's a new president of OLG that's going to be named today. There's a new premier, there's a new finance minister. My hope is that at the very least, they look at it and they say, look, if we're going to have 2 zones in Niagara Falls, which is a population of 80,000 people, compared to the city of Ottawa, which is a population of 900,000, right, fair is fair, they should see our way.
But that being said, Niagara Falls is a destination for gambling. We're not known as a city for gambling. Can we even sustain gambling here? 2 casinos? Is there a desire and a need for it in Ottawa?
Well, in essence, we have 2 casinos. We have Rideau Carleton, we have across the river. I like to repatriate some of that money. You go to the casino in Hull and Gatineau, lots of Ontario plates. I'd rather that money stay in our system to support our health care, our infrastructure, our economic development needs, our light rail system.
And I want to ask you about light rail just quickly. Why go so far in the process with accepting or passing a motion for the Western link to light rail when the NCC is still not on board with this? I mean, there's time. Do you think you can convince them that this is the right choice?
Well, look, at the end of the day, it's going to be difficult not to upset some people because what we've tried to do is build a light rail system in a built-up area. We've gone a long way. We've worked with our councillors for that area, Mark Taylor and Catherine Hobbs, covered the vast majority of the area that's behind people's homes. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to work with the NCC. We understand they own the land. I sent a very positive letter to the chair of the NCC, Mr. Mills, yesterday, and they understand too the importance of light rail for public servants that live in the West End. Right. If we can't connect the Tunney's pasture, which is the end of the current light rail, to Lincoln Fields and then to Algonquin College, all of the people in the West End and Canada and eventually Barrhaven won't have a link to light rail, yet they're paying for it. So my hope is that cooler heads will prevail and the NCC board will see we've come a long way, but we're not a bottomless pit of money. So we can't afford to simply go and cover everything for another $100 or $200 million. Right. So we have to be reasonable with tax dollars, but we have to get on with this. Construction's underway, as you know, now in the first phase, after years of talk, so we're excited about that. Let's carry on with the good work that we're doing to continue farther west, farther east, and down south.
Okay, Mayor Jim Watson, not the last time we'll be talking about this, I'm sure. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Well, the City of Ottawa has cancelled all-day camp trips to Calypso Water Park. The move comes after the popular tourist attraction was charged with 20 safety-related offences. Calypso was charged by the Technical Standards and Safety Authority on Tuesday in connection with alleged violations in 2011 and 2012. A moratorium has been placed on all organized outings by city camps to Calypso. In a statement, Manager Dan Chenier says the city needs to understand what issues led to the charges and what the park has done to fix them before camp groups will be allowed to go back to Calypso. The segregated bike lanes will now be a permanent fixture on Laurier Avenue. Council has voted to make the bike lanes between Elgin and Bronson Avenue permanent. Since the pilot project was launched 2 years ago, more than 740,000 bike trips have been recorded. The city says the final design of the lanes will include a raised cycling track, which will allow for additional on-street parking. And the wait continues this morning for the birth of the heir to the British throne, and even Queen Elizabeth is hoping Prince William and Kate's baby is born soon.
Do you want Kate's baby to be a boy or girl?
I don't think I mind. Very much like it to ride. Yes, I'm going on holidays.
Queen Elizabeth was asked by children in northern England if she would like her great-grandchild to be a boy or girl. The Queen says she hopes the baby will be born soon because she begins her annual holiday in Scotland next week.